5th, 7 p.m. This is General Operations, and I am calling the meeting to order. Chairman, Merrill Hyde will give the invocation, please.
Father, we thank you for your many blessings to us, and we pray, Lord, as we gather here tonight to do the business of this great county, that you will guide us and give us wisdom, that the decisions that we make will be those that are honorable in your sight. We pray in that name.
Amen. The approval of the agenda, I have added, been working with Mr. Tuttle on a system, and he has got it pretty much finished, and so I've given a handout on that so that you can add that to your agenda packet. If any, yes, Mr. Mayor?
Would it be possible we add the health department to the agenda?
Sure.
The Hendersonville Health Department?
Hendersonville Health Department.
Please.
Let's make that new business number 9D.
Do you know what it's about?
Yes. We'll get to it. Okay. Any other changes to the agenda from anybody? I would ask for a motion.
Motion, second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Approval of the minutes from January 2nd.
Motion.
You've got a motion? Got a second from Commissioner Moss. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Passes unanimously. I have no report. Mr. Mayor, do you have a report for us?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to shorten this just a little bit because a lot of this stuff we've already talked about. But talk a little bit about the Hendersonville Health Department. We've got Hal with us, and we got the report back, and that report basically says that it's really not a candidate for renovation. Damage too far gone, and they're recommending that we just tear it down and replace it. I spoke with the schools. Schools are okay with that since it's on their area. And what we need from this commission, from this committee, is to change, that vote needs to change from renovation to demo and rebuild. So right now under the ARPA, we've got it down as a renovation. So we just need to change that vote from a renovation to a demolition and rebuild. I think when we get to this, I would like, under the new business, I'd like for us to have Mr. Howell talk about some of he's got some graphs, some information to share. And I've got also some handouts to share. And let me put these around to everybody. To give you an idea of where we are with the health department. Let's run these down both sides. There you go. I know there was some questions with the health department. Right now, AEI was the architect that was selected. AEI has got experience with other health departments across the state. You need more? There should be.
No, I think that's good. Thank you.
And so they're familiar not only with just the health department itself, building health departments and designing health departments, but they also have experience with the grants that the state has. It's very important that we know that with the state grant that we have, is that the state on this project is going to cover any overages, any contingencies without a match. So the money that we've committed is all the money that we've got to commit to this project. The state's going to cover everything else on it. So it's a good opportunity for us to get a new health department out in the Hendersonville area. The plans on it are to expand it from 4,000 square feet to 6,000 square feet under their new model. So I think that'll be good. There was some questions on service. You can see the graph there, the services for the health department. And one thing that I want to bring to your attention is the outside of county, because I know there was some question that we had, that we were serving a lot of people from outside the county. Well, actually, 61% come from Hendersonville, and then the majority comes from other areas within Sumner County, and outside the county is 12%, based on their latest data. So we do have some people coming in from outside the county, but 88% that's served within that health department is served for Sumner County residents. I think Hal can talk to you more about some of that, some of the other stuff with the health department when we get to that area. But I just want to reiterate that what I'd like, the architect makes this recommendation for the ARPA funding. I would like for this committee to vote to change. Only thing you change is the language from demo, or from renovation to demo and new construction. The Hollows Drainage Project is still going fine. The Oak Grove, we talked about this in EMS, or in the Health and Emergency Services Committee. We've got the PO. We're still waiting to get all of that finished so we can get the legal description. With everything going on, getting that completed, the time frame is a little longer than we wish, but we are still moving forward with that project. We talked about the EMS buildings. We should have the appraisal done on the land in Westmoreland. We're going to bring that to the body for your consideration, and talk to you about that. We're also, we had talked a little bit in the previous committee on the White House property. So we had looked at a piece of property, and it was actually the exact same piece of property that the city administrator was also looking at. So when we exchanged information, it was good that we lined up on that location. But there's still a lot of work to be done, as it was discussed in the Health and Emergency Services Committee meeting. A lot of work to be done on that before we reach the point. Now, I will tell you that we are streamlining some of the processes on that. When we put that RFQ out for the architect, it's our goal to do the same exact station on both locations, on Westmoreland and White House. And also, I talked a little bit about staffing issues. Those are real. So that's something that we're also going to have to take in consideration with White House. Now, I will say that, you know, we are a couple years out, but staffing is continuing to be a problem. Let's see, we'll talk about the park later. And we're expecting our chiller to come in anytime now. I gotta get Toby on the ball on the pad. He's not gotten the pad ready yet, so I'm gonna call him tomorrow on that. We're still on the jail and the architect, jail and archives building. We're still finishing that up, and hopefully we're gonna be advertising for bids soon, and bringing those bids back to this committee to review and approve. Let's see, we've got the other projects, our HVAC program. Fortunately, good thing, we'll probably roll those funds over to next year, barring anything happening. But it's good to have those funds dedicated if something happens. But right now, we don't have anything. And same thing with the parking lot program. You know, if we don't have any major projects with parking lots, we're going to just ask that we roll that over and keep that going. I don't want to redo parking lots or HVAC units until I need to. The other capital item, the jail kitchen equipment, the jails have identified a freezer, refrigerator, and a range that they need to purchase for the kitchen. So that's going to come out of those capital funds. And that is it on my report, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Okay, recognition from the public, we have one, Ms. Penny Wicker.
need to state my name.
Yes, say your name.
My name is Penny Wicker. I live at 221 Bug Hollow Road, Gallatin. And maybe some notes I went stray. But I came here today because I wanted to talk to y'all because I was the one that informed Mr. Klein about the tree branch that is now touching the historic post office. When I first noticed the branch, it was hanging low, but that was several months before we had the tornado storms. And after those storms that produced the tornadoes, I just noticed it was lower, and that tree is rotten. At least part of it is. And if it falls, it's going to cause some significant damage to the back of the post office. And I'm the treasurer of the Cottontown Community Center nonprofit, and we care about the property, and we want to see it preserved, and we want to properly clean and maintain it. We cleared the porches of weeds and invasive vines, and we want to plant native plants and wildflowers, and we've secured the funds, and we put the roof on to keep the water out. And the exterior doors had been taken off, so we purchased the doors, and of course y'all know that we had them installed and paid for. And at Christmas, we put up some simple decorations, and some residents had expressed their appreciation for our efforts. And we do want to see these buildings restored to honor the history of the different families that built the area, and also make it welcoming for the new families in the area. And but I know that Resolution 230418 that was passed in April of 2023 states no tax money should be used to keep these buildings maintained. And that's not what I'm not asking for any tax money today about on the tree. I mean, I actually wanted to go there and cut it, but I wanted to respectfully go through the proper channels and all that and make sure it was done right. And but also now I'm asking, what is the long-term plan for the historic post office and the Draper House? These two buildings do have significant meaning and some historic meaning to most in the community. And that's what I want to do. I want to feel like, this is my opinion, I want to, if I pull out of Bug Hollow and look over and I know that something needs to be maintained or done, cleaned, that I feel comfortable that there's, we can move forward, get it done. And I know you all have a great deal of important matters to give your attention to, but we would like to respectfully request that you all give thought to this and discuss this matter so we can move on and get some things done. And I just want to thank you all for your time.
Okay, that ends recognition of the public. We'll go into old business. Mayor covered some of this, so I will add to what is just informational. Item A, the progress on the roof and parapets of Archive Building. We're still awaiting the specifications. I know in the minutes it said that we were going to have them any day. The man they have working on it has had some issues that he's had to attend to, and so I think his direct superior is picking up the ball with that. So we're expecting still this week to get specifications for the Archive Building as well as the roof for the jail. The roof for the jail is a little different. We did receive specifications a week and a half ago. Ms. Norfleet got them. She had some corrections that she sent them back for. We expected to have them for tonight and they didn't make it. She did follow up today and let me know that they're going to be here very, very soon, and that should mean this week. So we'll know more about those. Update on the new courthouse parking structure. The construction is all moving well, if any of you have driven by it. Regarding the storm drain, we'd kind of run right into item D here because they're really one and the same when it comes to the second half of item C. I had meetings with first the City of Gallatin Utility to discuss what they anticipated doing in Franklin Street. That's where the storm drain is going to be running. And they have to move water lines, which I found out subsequently what was more involved in that, because there's two different departments handling it. So the first group I met with was three, and they were more with stormwater people. And so they explained to me that the water line has to be moved. Sewer's probably going to be able to be kept in place. Power poles are going to have to be supported because it's a very narrow street there, if any of you traveled it. And we're talking about 350 feet of 18 and 24-inch storm drain. So after that, I met with Ms. Norfleet and Judge Thompson, and we had a meeting about the pressurization of the courthouse, and then we followed up with this meeting on the storm drain. And we all agreed that if it were possible, that we have as few contractors work on it as possible and get it done as quickly as possible. And so that was the same consensus we had at my previous meeting with the city. And then last week, Ms. Norfleet and I met David Kellogg, who's over, he's in the water and sewer department over on Hancock Street. And he has already started bidding that project out, so it's too late to try to get one contractor to do all of it, but it's gonna work out okay, I believe, because what the city is going to do is they're gonna move the water line from the south side of the street to the north. Our storm drain is gonna be put on the south side of the street. So they're gonna move and increase that water line from a 4 and a 6 to a single 12-inch. And that'll be, I believe, in ductile iron. That'll leave an open area for us. The only thing we'll have to do is deal with sewer and water laterals that come from the mains. So they will move in, they will move the water line. Our contractor, whoever that will be, will move in and put in the storm drain, and in places it'll be 10 feet deep. So it's a pretty serious construction project. What Ms. Norfleet and I are going to do maybe later this week or possibly next week is meet with Turner and their contractor to see if we can, now that we've got a lot of the variables out of the way, it's possible we can reduce the costs. As you know, the pipe contractor is around $400,000, and Turner's oversight is about $100,000, and then there's $100,000 in unknowns. And so we'll be working through that. The drawings, I have not seen the final drawings. Mr. Mayor, have you seen the final drawings yet for the storm?
No, sir.
No, okay. I don't think they're quite done yet, but they're very close. So as a point of information, there's no voting to do. What I am going to try to find out is if we need to, and what I haven't found out yet is whether we need to have Turner doing the oversight or if we can bid it out. And that has not been determined yet. So time may have an effect on that. Contract law may have an effect on that. I just have not gotten a final assessment from financial in conjunction with legal at this point. So,
Well, if possible, what I'd like to do, we've got that up to amount. I'd like for us to move this on to budget, and we can always come in under that based on the conversations we have with Turner going forward. But we really need to get that amount, at least get something to budget, so we can get that process started rather than waiting another month.
okay, so you'd like to see a not to exceed?
Not to exceed.
600,000, is that?
Yeah, that was the original amount. We know it's not more than that. That's worst case scenario.
Right.
And if we're able to get it lower, that's great.
So moved.
So,
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second? Second. Terry Moss. Commissioner Moss, we have a question?
So, well, a couple questions. First of all, you said that the pipe, the drain pipe is moved from the north side to the south side?
No, it was always designed to be on the south side of the street.
Okay. did
They have to move the water to the north.
Okay, I knew they were together last rendition I saw.
Yeah, yeah.
So do we own any part of the relocation of that water line
No.
now that they're tearing up two sides of the street? Or are they totally covering all of that?
The city is covering the entirety of the water line, the entirety of the paving.
Okay, both sides?
Both sides,
Okay,
yeah.
since it's split, I wanted to make sure that was still covered.
Yeah.
And then two, oh, is it, still within the possibility to discuss any, recourse of this oversight if did we beat that horse to death last month? Or by rolling this to budget, are we still okay with potential for that if we decided to,
That may be a legal
or? That's what I was
question.
gonna ask you, I was directing the chair first.
Can you respond to that, Mr. Sittler?
This is there may be some legal recourse, and I would have an executive session if there were some discussion there at the time, but I don't, really, this is an apples and oranges thing because it's gotta get done.
Would moving it to budget, mess
No.
that up?
As a matter of fact, we'd have a duty to mitigate our damages anyway,
That's
which is
what I thought.
less
I
than
just
them,
wanted to ask the
so.
question just to
Yeah,
make sure.
no, I don't see any issue there.
Okay, that's all I've got.
Okay, so, any other questions on the issue? So we've got a motion and a second. Mr. Mayor, you look like you have a question.
No, sir.
No, okay, all right. All in favor?
Can you restate that for me? Because this just went from a discussion to
Okay.
a motion.
Okay, the motion is to approve to send to budget not to exceed $600,000 for the total county's responsibility on this storm drain project. Okay. Any other questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Okay, the historic Brown House, Mr. Mayor, I'm gonna be mostly addressing you on this one. Item E1, status of the documentation.
I've got that ready.
Is it ready? So any of us can come in and see it, just give you.
Yeah, just let me
notice.
know, please, so I'm there.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, you have a question, Mr.
That was what I was gonna ask.
Thank you.
No, you're good.
Item 2, the status of the $500,000 fund. That's either a mayoral question
No.
or Mr. Sidley.
The back and forth, the last I've had with Director Langford was they would be ready to release it contingent upon the county setting up the park, which this resolution is attached in the packet that needs to be voted on as part of this. But it's to establish the park and to take in the monies to operate the park as outlined in the will.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we adopt this resolution, page 13.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll say,
Second by Commissioner Moss. Any questions on the motion?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
has this committee or has the commission voted to actually establish the park?
That's what this is right here.
That's what that resolution
This is the resolution to establish the park.
Yes.
is, based on the desires of Mr. Brown, yes. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Are there any other questions?
If I could add something to the motion, that it also be moved to any successive committee, if necessary, I'm not sure if budget or legislative needs to see this before it goes straight to commission. I'm trying to get it straight to commission.
Okay.
Wouldn't this need to go to legislative first?
No.
Okay.
Budget would only need to know just to know the money would be.
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna have to go there. I just wanted an out on y'all's vote so that I could steer it however it needed to go.
Okay. Are you okay with that, Commissioner?
If
Sure,
if it's unanimous, we can waive the second reading just like we did in budget.
Yeah.
Let's just do that.
Commissioner Moss, are you okay with that change?
Yeah.
Okay, and if we vote unanimously, we can pass on the second reading. Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Take it as you will, Mr. Sill.
Thank you, sir.
We saw 2 months ago, Mr. Mayor, a design presentation. Has anything changed on that today? No. Okay, great. Okay, and then this one here is kind of an issue. You've all seen my correspondence or my attempted correspondence with Mr. Long of the school district. I'm getting no response. And the concern here, or at least my concern, is we have no idea what the inside of that house looks like. We have $1.25 million to deal with it, and what I do know about it, because I spoke to one of the ancestral family members, that it is a log cabin that was bricked around at a much later date by the Browns. And so, not knowing anything about what kind of work is involved inside, and knowing that Mr. Brown's desire was to have this the jewel of the park, it's impossible to budget for a design if we don't know what the renovation of the house is going to be. So, you have a question, Mr.
I got a question. I'm gonna direct it to you, but it's open to anybody that knows the answer to this. Why is that key? Why does Mr. Long have that key? I don't understand how it got to him in the first place. I don't read that anywhere in the resolution, and I don't see him on the county site as being any kind of caretaker of county buildings. I don't understand. Do you have knowledge of that?
I do not know why.
Does anybody at this table have knowledge of that?
Mr. Mayor?
As to why he's got that key?
Well, prior to this commission, there was an understanding that the school system was gonna renovate that. Since they had the manpower to do it internally, they were gonna handle the renovation, and since they had the mowers already there, they were gonna handle the maintenance of the park and save the county the cost of that.
That walks all over this resolution, this will though. That walks all over the testament, the last will and testament of Mr. Brown. That's totally in conflict with what that is. So I hope we can resolve that and get it back in order to where the will is being handled according to the way Mr. and Miss Brown wanted it to be. So how do we go about getting that key? Because I've seen 2 attempts to ask for it, and is he out of town? Is he being stubborn? What is the status of that, and what can this body do? And maybe I should direct that to the law director. How do we get that key? Because I would like to go see the status of that house to know what it's going to cost to repair that house and why it hasn't been repaired in 7 years. Eight, almost 9 years. It's been sitting there
Is it
boarded
been that
up
long?
since 15 or 16
Okay.
or 17.
I believe you.
So at least 6 years. I want to know, why it has not been handled. If the school said they were going to do it, why they haven't, but why the previous commission didn't do it as they were directed to do. Everybody knows houses left just unlived in are getting worse and worse shape. I'm sure there's quite a few critters living in there. So how do we go about getting that key, Mr. Sittler?
I don't know what the deeding status is. Once this park gets established through the resolution, we're gonna need to come to some sort of agreement with the schools as to what parameter that would be. Now, this is long-term, but once the house and whatever we're deeming the park is deeded directly to the county, it's the county's property, they can go in, rekey it, do whatever they want with the property. In absence of that, I think if the mayor and Director Langford were in agreement, there's no dispute that the county and this trust can agree that they just rekey the place and we go in, start looking at it and see what needs to be done. But I would like to see an agreement before we just step up and do that.
So do we have the status of the deed of the house? Like, that's in his paperwork that he organized, right?
Yeah,
He may
it's
be able
deeded
answer
to
that.
the school systems and the county.
It's deeded to both.
But when all this deeding happened, that house was blocked out. And I believe it was blocked out for the intents of the will to create the park. So there is a area there that would be very simple to just convey back directly to the county.
So
Well-
once we codify this resolution, we could get clarification that the deed is now 100% not mixed up with
Well,
school
yeah,
and
we would just
county.
execute some sort of quick claim deed just for that defined.
After
Well,
this
is it
little
for
area.
the lot with the house, or is it the entire park?
It's the house, because they were living in the property when they conveyed all this. He was still alive, I believe. Is that right?
Yeah, he had a life estate, and that's to make the grant work with the park, with TDEC. They parceled the house out because he was still living in it,
Separate from the park area?
separate from the park.
So we have that different description of property, so it would be a very easy paperwork switch. It
So-
just can't happen till we've established,
So the meets and bounds are all established
correct.
with the house, the park, and then the school?
They never really called it a park in the deeding
What
portion,
will be the
but
park, though?
the deed can be defined through this.
Okay, so once the resolution's done, then that will put the house and the park back together and make it whole.
It should, based on my last correspondence with Dr. Langford.
Okay.
Yeah, until this resolution passes the commission, which it has not, we've just recommended it, there's still no establishment of the park. So
Okay.
there's nothing to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so I jumped the gun on the key.
Oh, it's still a
No,
valid
it's still
question.
a point. It
Yeah.
should have never been there according to what the will says.
You're right.
It
You're
was
right.
done there, but in order to make it untangled and undo, we have to do this.
Okay, so
it's
we
still valid.
passed the resolution unanimously. That'll go to the commission and hopefully get a positive vote. And then at that point, we can deal with entering the house and seeing what kind of work. And just I'm a little confused about the park. Is the park gonna be owned by the county or the school district?
County.
County. So we will, the park and the house, two separate pieces of property will be quitclaimed.
This isn't a legal question. The schools have designed a park setup for their whole layout. This park we're establishing is specific to the will, specific to the house. So whatever Dr. Langford's doing may be completely independent of this. We could try to make it all work together. I don't know. That's not my call. It's not a legal
Okay. And I haven't
question.
looked at the documents, so I don't know.
Those are two separate issues, the way I see it, though. The
Currently,
resolution
yes.
cleans up the will and what has been done to the will.
And then everybody can make
Then
whatever they
the
want.
park can be looked at because the piece of property and the house now have been put back together the way they should have been according to the will.
Correct.
Okay,
So this
Mr.
cleans it
Chairman.
all up.
Yes.
okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
just
sir.
a quick point, it would be a little silly to reinvent the wheel, though, from all of the design work that has been done, it's actually been reported to this committee, and I think it would be wise for us to at least try to look at that and maintain as much of that as we can, because otherwise, it's gonna just continue on undone.
Yes, yes. Mr. Jones.
He may or may not have a valid point. I think cart was put before the horse. We have to look at the house first.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
the centerpiece of what will be.
Yeah,
So it's gotta be looked at.
yeah, it has to be looked at in full because there's a limited amount of money. And at the point after that money runs out, then the county, the taxpayers are going to have to make up the difference, or we back down on the design criteria. So
That's why we have to do this first.
that, yeah, we,
Yeah, not to abbreviate any of this, but everything you're talking about now is gonna be talked about
Again,
again, so
right,
we
right.
gotta get this thing set up first.
okay, and that's been done as far as the facility goes, so.
One
Yes,
simple question, can you come back with information to us on how old this quote historic house is?
I can tell you right now that
When was it built?
the man who built it somewhere between the 1790s and prior to 1830. He owned that property, and somewhere in there, but this direct descendant is not sure when, but it's that old. It's anywhere between 1790 and 1830.
Almost as old as your house.
Well, that's not as old as my house, or the house I lived in, but, you know, I haven't found this house in any documents anywhere as a historic.
I've got a copy of deeds and things that he made for me. I'll make you a copy of
I would
them.
like to see.
Because I know you're an historian as well as a sage. All right, moving on. Item F, status of finding a new project manager for the new courthouse and parking structure. And, Mr. Mayor, the question I think lays in your lap.
Yeah, there's been no movement on that.
Are you even attempting to find one?
No,
No. Do you feel, obviously you feel we don't need one?
I don't feel we need one at
Okay.
this stage in the game. With the anticipation being done in April, and, you know, you're part of most all the communications anyway.
Mhm.
So I don't see that we really need one at this point.
Okay. What is the pleasure of the body regarding this? Do we drop it? Do we,
Move we drop it from all this.
you have a motion?
I got a question.
Okay, we've got a question.
So we voted, to go forward with securing a new project manager. Is it even up for debate whether or not we do one? Like, we've already had this vote. I don't understand. I understand what the mayor thinking we may not need one, but the whole discussion and reason why we chose to do one is because of things like that drainage issue, which did come up in the meantime.
Mhm.
And so without knowing how many more things were out there, we all voted to appoint another one. Is this a legal director question? Like, we directed the mayor to do something. The mayor
Refuses.
doesn't agree with our decision, but does he have the legal authority just to not do the will of this body? I don't know where to go with that. What?
I would not feel comfortable giving you an answer just off the top of my head, so I'll be more than glad if y'all want to table this to come back to you with a more direct answer, but this kind of falls into a custody and control issue
I mean,
versus
I hope he turns
ownership.
out that he's right and we don't need one, but $600,000 is a lot to get slapped with without any kind of heads up that it was coming. But there were people that knew, we just didn't know. And I think a project manager would have been a good piece of, had that information for us, that was coming along. I just don't feel good about this, and I don't know if we should let it go.
Chairman Klein,
Yes, sir.
just a point of order. I don't recall, and I'm looking at the minutes from last month, there was no vote taken to hire a
That
project
was several
manager.
No, it was like
It was
3 or 4 months ago
previous,
before
yeah,
you came.
It was previous to that. So,
What's the projected completion date?
April?
He said April.
Well,
I guess I'm saying that too.
I think April is the still anticipated finish time for the parking structure. I have not heard the latest on the pressurization, but I know that we were close to the
Well,
solution. to
on
that.
the pressurization, did you ever look into, in the research that I've done, the elevator pressurization test is not a complete test until they test it in cold weather and in warm weather.
I did check into that, and the differences are so minute that,
But they do have to do.
but they
two.
do have to do two tests.
So we're not gonna get a written, complete release of that building until that second test is done. Would it be wise to have somebody watching over that, that has more knowledge over that than our chairman?
I certainly do not know a lot about that.
And everything I know is just research that I've done, so I just bring these things up for our committee to consider. This, I don't know what the difference in what it would cost to hire one. Those funds I thought would have been there within the project to have a project manager throughout it. Is it truly costing us money to do this? Or if so, how much? Or is it already covered within the project details that, you know, is it coming out of our pockets? Is it coming out of our fund?
I think, in truth, my experience in building is by the time a project manager got caught up with where we're at, the project may be over. Now, that's barring any further catastrophes. You know, I can tell you after being there for 2 solid days with the pressurization testing, that was just, there was no relief at the 3rd, 4th, and 5th floor. So all we have to do is figure out what kind of outside we want it to look like to vent it out, and that'll be handled. You know,
So the wall idea ended up getting implemented?
no, it did not get implemented because it was not necessary. All they needed.
What do you mean by outside? What it looks like?
There, we have to have venting on 2 walls, the 2 side walls is, I believe, where they're gonna do it now, to evacuate the air in a direct manner. The building was being pressurized,
Yeah.
and this will relieve the pressure. And so, it's actually a fairly simple solution to what seemed like a really big problem at the moment. So, the only thing that we're waiting for, I think we're still waiting for, Mr. Mayor, is renderings of what the outside is going to look like when they put the venting in, and I don't think we're even gonna notice it.
Outside the building or outside the elevator chamber?
Outside of the building. Yeah,
Okay.
outside of the building, it's gonna be up at the 3rd and 4th floors, and it's probably gonna be a spandrel of venting rather than a window or something to that
So
effect.
that $395,000 is gonna come way down.
Way
That's good to
down.
hear.
Yeah, it's good news all the way around. And because they can control that venting, I don't believe that the warmer weather venting is gonna be a problem, the way it was explained to me. So, you know, going back to the question of oversight,
The funding of it.
yeah,
We already
well,
paid for it.
Well, we didn't pay for it because Randall Coy left. And so we kept all the money that he would have taken had he not resigned.
Well, let me ask you this, is it possible to appoint somebody or have somebody within the project that already is aware, knows the project, to take on the task of project manager that could do that kind of work?
Well, I don't know.
Well, we have constant communication with the architectural firm that's still managing their portion of it, as well as Turner Construction,
How-
that's still on site.
How are you getting constant communication? Via who?
Well,
They're
they talk to them all
represented.
the time.
Yeah, they're representative. I
Yeah,
talked.
they're on site.
Kim talks to him.
And that was part of the reason why I didn't feel we needed it, because we were so close to the end, and we still had all of them on site. that we can work through these issues. These issues were coming whether we had somebody there to say, oh, you have these issues.
Yeah.
So,
The storm drain issue happened while we had a representative there.
Yeah, my biggest fear is that there was things that were coming that somebody with knowledge of left and took that knowledge with them. And there may be somebody else there with knowledge of things that are coming that we don't know to ask. So if you feel good about asking the right questions of
I have to tell you, I
people that are there.
don't, because I've come in so late in the game that I'm addressing the issues as they come up and to,
Well, let me ask this, do you know the people that would know
within the project.
within the project that have the knowledge of the last list of punch list items
Yes,
to go,
yes.
that we could find out if,
I would say that
There
I
any
do, and if,
surprises?
if there's one or two people I don't know, I could meet them rather quickly. So,
And time is not on our side for a project manager. We have to, as aggravated as we can be over this project, we have to deal with the cards that are in front of us. Let's just say we kept, instead of approving Commissioner Harrison's motion to scrap the project manager, we kept it for March. Well, if you got a closing date or an end date of April, I mean, even in a perfect world, let's just pretend we could interview people today. There's no way you're gonna find someone qualified between today and the completion. It's just real, we gotta just deal with the cards in front of us. So personally, I don't see keeping a project manager on this agenda. And it's just reality. I know some people will not like to hear that, but we've gotta deal with what's in front of us. And this is what we've got, unfortunately. And a project manager at this stage of the game, you know, again, it's just gonna take too long to find somebody qualified, and then to get that person caught up on months and months of stuff is just almost next to impossible in my point of view.
that's why I thought maybe just somebody that's already familiar with the project could just put on that hat for the rest of the time, but
well, I think the one thing you could say is that we've got a lot of cooperation between the architecture firm and Turner Construction. You know, in working through that pressurization issue, everybody's effectively on the same team. There's no animosity or disagreement. Everybody's trying to get the thing done.
that's great, and I commend you for working so tightly with them, but honestly, that wasn't your job.
No, it
We
wasn't.
directed the mayor to appoint a project manager this months ago, and I agree now, as we've whittled down our time, it does seem possibly too late to get one, but it didn't have to be that way.
Yes.
I agree with Tim. It should have been done, well, we should have been notified as soon as the project manager quit, and we were not. And it should have been, we should have had another project manager as soon as that
Well,
one
stop
resigned. Because you can
Last September.
argue all day long, but the reason that we're delayed is because we didn't have a project manager watching over this. And we still currently don't have anybody that's qualified to be a project manager, but, you know, but I mean, the previous chairperson of the General Operations Committee before us, she was designated to be overall in charge of this project. So I think that would kind of, which you have,
Yes.
kind of fall in your lap, Stephen.
And to your point, that's kind of where I was getting at before. We're basically dealing with a pile of
Well,
whatever you want to call it.
specifically
Yeah.
asked.
And let's be real, I mean, like, to your point, I mean, you
That
had
would feel-
a previous Gen Ops committee that you probably count on your hands how many times they met in that term, if I'm not mistaken. So, you know, to your point, I mean, but unfortunately, we've got to look at what we got in front of us, and that's just reality. I mean, you know, we could sit here and do this all day long. I get it, it's frustrating, and a lot of people are upset. But, you know, now what do we do to move forward and just get this thing
Yeah.
off our back?
Commissioner Johnson.
As much as I don't want to put this in the hands of Hope, I'll reluctantly second Commissioner Harrison's motion to let this go.
Okay.
It doesn't need a vote to drop,
Okay.
just FYI.
I will, with your agreement, I will bird dog the project more closely than I have been. and work with the mayor and Ms. Norfleet to get it wrapped up as quickly as possible, if you're all in agreement with that. Okay, well, let's take it off of old business then, and we'll move on. Mr. Mayor, did you ever get a contractor up to the third floor dormers to look at what we did?
I've contacted a couple and they were just too busy. I'm gonna continue to work on that. I will tell you through this latest, code spell where we did the cutouts on the third floor. We did a temperature check and the temperatures stayed above freezing in those rooms, where we were able to get back into. So that was good.
No.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, go ahead.
Could you elaborate on that? You said you did cutouts to
Yeah,
do some
what we
tests
did
in the
is-
dormers?
Where those little sections are, we did cutouts where we're gonna put vents. Right now it's just solid, but when we saw the code spell coming, we did two things. One, we ran the heat through the whole weekend instead of going to an unoccupied status and the temperature dropping. We kept it at the normal temperature, but we also removed those and that allowed heat to get through there as well. And it stayed well above freezing in there.
That's a good thought, good job. I would push it back a little bit that that's a good temporary fix because those are uninsulated areas, so you are
Yeah.
gonna continue to see if we
Which-
can cap it and
Yeah.
make that a non-issue.
Yeah, it just couldn't,
Yeah.
contractor's just busy right now.
That's
So-
good thinking.
So
I-
we'll look at
Yeah, that was real good thinking. I was gonna ask, when it blew last year, that was Christmas Eve, right? Were we in an unoccupied? Oh, we were.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
that was
Christmas
when the
Eve.
temperature would start dropping.
And
So that
the heat was not on.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, it was on, but it wasn't,
It
it was
was
very low.
set lower.
Like
Right, a lot
60
lower.
or
Okay,
something.
I did not know that. That explains a lot to me. Okay,
Yeah, we did know that because you remember it takes a while to ramp it up. We talked about that. in
well,
other
I knew
meetings.
we were doing it on the weekends, but I didn't make the connection with Christmas Eve. So, because that's set at a timer. Okay, so you're still gonna try to get somebody up there, Mr. Mayor? Thank you.
Are we dropping that, or?
Yeah, we'll drop
Well,
it.
no.
Oh, you want to keep it on? Okay.
So he'll report back.
Yeah, keep it on and Mayor can report back. H, status of the new Sumner County Courthouse. Mr. Mayor, have you heard through Ms. Norfleet or what SSOE has resolved with Turner?
I haven't seen the final report. yet.
Okay,
Yeah,
I
we
will
can follow
follow
up on that tomorrow.
Yeah, okay, great, okay. Maybe you could send us an email.
Be happy.
Because I know they're expecting to be able to send us renderings of what it's gonna look like.
This is for the thing.
This is for the venting, yeah. And I will find out and send everybody an email on where we're at with furniture and everything else.
Is that something we have to approve?
No,
That is.
no, it's just an informative thing.
No, the drawings of the painting. Are they gonna go with whatever they want?
They're gonna want an approval from somebody. I don't know that this committee has to do it or,
Who else would?
I don't know
We've
who.
already approved the money. I'd venture to guess it probably would just work with the committee. That'd probably fall under day-to-day.
No,
operation.
the
look,
look of the
the
design, like the architecture of it, is it something that the specific company deals with the architect on record, or do they have to run the rendering
Well,
by us?
we're running into time constraints.
Yeah, they will run it through the county. The architect, they told me that on that Zoom call.
So do we have to do a special meeting to
No,
approve it?
no, we don't have to. It just, they're gonna wanna protect themselves as the architects, that they got some sort of approval.
I'm misunderstanding. You said they're gonna run it through the county. Who will be the person?
Well,
approves
that
it?
normally would have been Randall Coy, but it'll probably be Kim Norfleet, the mayor, and myself, probably.
Okay. I just wanna make sure we're ready to approve whatever comes out of this
Yeah,
meeting.
Yeah,
So that we don't hold anything else up.
it'll happen the same day. as we
I can't
receive
see that it would make a hill of beans what the vent looks like up there.
It's not going
They're
to.
not gonna make it
Yeah, it's not.
ugly or prettier than I can imagine.
Yeah, no, it's not even gonna be noticeable to 99% of the population. Okay, the health department surplus property, that was a list that we got from Mr. Hendricks. I would like to, have item K, the status of the county surplus data project. I've been working on this with Mr. Tuttle, and this is the handout I gave to everybody. He's got a program ready to go. I did.
He's got one.
And so this is what Robert Tuttle has come up with, and he's ready to enact it. And so we could make the health department material that's surplus, we could actually put it in this if we, if you remember last month, I said I would look into it and see if I could get something together.
You propose a central location.
And we're proposing a central location, and he's basically done all the hard work, and he was actually working on it before I ever went to him. So, we can put all of the health department surplus product on this and see if there are any takers with different departments within the county, so that we don't just give it away or sell it at a low dollar if there's another department that could use it. So, I would entertain a motion to go ahead and implement the system.
Is this gonna cost any more money to the taxpayers?
No.
I mean,
It should save the money if it's.
No.
Should say-
I'll make
no,
a
I just
motion.
wanna- I'll
Second.
Okay, we have a motion from Commissioner Miller and a second from Commissioner Holmes. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Great, so,
We're gonna send that to commission,
if we have to, sure,
okay?
okay.
Do you have any, I guess if you could, give me some implementation requirements,
Okay,
and
I'll
I'll
get
roll
those.
something out,
I'll
okay?
get those from the IT director. All right, so that knocks out I and K. Moving back to J, creating a list of all capital improvement projects currently in progress or budgeted for the future. This is something that I feel we need as far as a committee that's supposed to be overseeing all construction and improvements of the county. I believe this would fall on the shoulders of the mayor's office and probably finance. And so, I think, I'm not sure exactly how to implement the list. I've been working on the back page of our entire packet here. I got the most recent list of items that's really difficult to read.
I say, if
That's
anybody can
terrible.
read that.
Yeah, you know what,
my
I
eyes are
will,
bad.
I will email it to everybody so that everybody can actually read it. But this is, Holly Hemrick was the one who came up with this list for me, and it's a combination of, yeah, no, you're not even gonna try, because it looks like hieroglyphics.
Oh, it's vertical.
We can see
It's
it.
vertical.
Yeah, I don't know what happened to that. So anyway, we have items that we have allotted money for, but we don't oftentimes in this committee find out that these projects are underway. I think a good example that I didn't know that we were going after was an EMS building in Westmoreland. That totally took me by surprise last month when I was talking to David Lawing about it. So if we can compile, and Mr. Mayor, you can maybe give me direction on this, because you're the one who starts these projects with the surveying and stuff. If we could keep a running list of projects.
Yeah, this is the report that I go down and give you each month.
Yeah, I know, but we don't know where in the process we're at.
Oh.
Because you talk about them and that's great, because they come up, but like I say, we don't know, certainly I don't know where we're at within the process.
I'll work on a different format to present it to you. Yeah.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Drop or old business?
Yeah, old business. And item L actually could be walking hand in hand with that, Mr. Mayor. Standard operating procedures for the General Operations Committee. No, K was with
Jay?
with a I.
I thought we already did.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
out of order. Yeah.
And what I did is I came up with a program, if I can find it. This is page 10 in your packet. And we had kind of put this on hold because it was going to take our meeting last month way long. So we got a little more time than we did last time. So if you'll indulge me, this is not too long and I can read it and then we can ask questions. In order for this committee and ultimately the legislative body to carry out the responsibility of oversight of county property, it is essential to be fully informed of all aspects of such property. As it pertains to construction, recent events involving the construction of the new Sumner County Courthouse project and the parking structure, which is a part of the overall development, it is evident that there is not a system in place which enables information on progress of construction to flow quickly nor freely. To that end, we, the General Operations Committee, propose the following. On at least a monthly basis, the county mayor or his assigned representative will provide a written report of the following. 1, a bar graph, a Gantt chart showing the original anticipated timeline of all aspects of the development, including but not limited to land purchase, where applicable, conceptual design, architectural, and engineering, plan submittal and permit, execution of contracts where the consultant contractor is directly responsible to the county, all trades working on the project, notice of substantial completion and occupancy permit. As the timeline is modified due to schedule changes, those changes should be reflected on the bar graph. See the Gantt chart. Example attached. Then item 2, access to all project documents to include but not be limited to trust deeds, financial loan or grant easement, construction plans, and reports. Contracts executed with Sumner County, extra orders, plan changes, and correspondence with any and all parties involved in the development. 3, documentation showing all original costs, progress payments where applicable, contract increases, contract decreases, and all other aspects of final expenditure. And 4, access to names, phone numbers, and addresses of all consultants and contractors who answer directly to Sumner County. It is hereby understood that the legislative body is the ultimate representative of the owner, the citizens of Sumner County, and therefore has all the rights and access to the property that any owner would expect and by legal right have. What I'm suggesting here is standard operating procedure in the development of any project, whether it be a room addition or a county courthouse. that a Gantt chart shows the inception and in a block fashion, and there is a pretty good example of one. And those can be updated so that we don't have to discuss this in very laborious terms in meetings. We can go directly to the Gantt chart, see where we're at in the project, and if we're missing anything, we can ask questions at that time. So this was, like I say, this is every development company I've ever worked with. This is what they do as a course of events, and it would be very helpful for us as the owner to follow a Gantt chart and have all of the data and information we need to have to fulfill our obligations as the oversight of properties in the county. Commissioner Jones.
I'll make a motion to adopt this in
Second.
order to, in order to get a second so we can discuss, and then I'm going to get the queue also.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, Commissioner Miller.
So,
Okay.
this is exactly what we do in the private sector with multi-million-dollar pieces of equipment that we build. We have every Monday meetings on those, so I don't think that's too much to ask for a monthly accounting of what's going on, and we have estimation to complete dates, so nothing's ever a surprise. We know if things are late coming in, we know if dates are getting pushed out. This is easy for me to say yes to, because this is the way the private sector does it.
Any other questions, statements, opinions? Are we ready for a vote?
Yep.
then? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Okay, we have one no. It was Commissioner Harrison. All
I
right.
have a question, now that the vote's made, before you move on to another thing. And it may be for the director, but I'll ask you, we made a decision to do something. This is gonna fall into, I guess, the mayor's hands to implement.
Yes.
And future project managers on other projects as we go along. So how do we handle implementing it? Is it right to ask opinions on whether or not this is something he wants to do, or
Well,
handle it if and when something?
I don't know how we can effectively do our job without this kind of
That's
information.
my point.
So, in the mayor's office, he has certain people. Ms. Norfleet comes to mind as the first who would probably execute this kind of work. He could have the planning and engineering department implement it. I would say that we just go and start up, and we'll ask for whatever projects are in the works next meeting. And I don't know that, because I'm not sure of how many projects we're in the middle of right now. I don't know how much work that involves, but ultimately I would think the mayor would catch up.
But, no, I mean, to my point, I want to be respectful of the mayor because he's an equal branch of government.
Mhm.
I don't want to tell people what to do as authoritarian, but I think it helps government work when roles are clearly defined and we define the reason for doing it and expect it to be done as we all have different roles, and we want that to be his roles, so we're asking him to do it. So is it fair to ask, is he gonna do it?
We've already voted.
I know, we've already voted to do it.
Doesn't discussion end after you vote?
Well, we haven't moved on to the next item, so I don't know.
Well, I think to your point, you bring up a very
Can we
good point.
discuss?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's out of order.
Well, then I'm gonna change my vote to no, because, I mean, you made some good points, so you can go ahead and, no. I mean, well, that's fine if it's too late, but, you know,
I mean,
you
you
made
can-
some
you can
good
suspend the
points.
rules.
I mean,
I
you made some
can
good
suspend
would
the
entertain a
rules.
motion to suspend the rules.
I'll second that.
No,
I'll make the motion. to
Yeah, I'll
suspend the
second
rules.
it.
Okay,
Because what he's saying is, you know, asking and telling are two different things.
Well, no,
So
that's
I don't
what
wanna
I'm-
be,
I'm
yeah,
wanting
well, now to your
clarification.
point, I'm not telling him how to do his, the mayor, I'm not telling him how to do his job. I think if we, why I'm gonna take my vote back is
Well,
because
we're
if
still
it's
talking, we're
saying,
still out of order.
No, we've suspended. the
we've
rules.
suspended the rules.
We didn't vote.
Oh, we didn't vote. All in favor of suspending the rules?
Aye.
No,
No, you don't want to
No,
suspend the
I
rules?
don't.
Okay, so one dissenter. Okay, so we've suspended the rules, and let me just ask a question. Mr. Mayor, is this problematic to you?
No, this isn't problematic. What the problem is, if we want to talk about this, is this does delve into the day-to-day operations of the project, which is outside the scope of general operations. General operations is designed for the need to determine, okay, we need a building here. Then it goes to budget. Budget says, okay, we can fund this need. And then at that point, you empower once that's done, county mayor goes on to the day-to-day operations with reports coming back to the committee. When you start getting into names and addresses of everybody that's involved, original cost and progress payments, that does become a little bit cumbersome on a monthly basis. I give a report on where we are with different projects, the capital projects as well as the ARPA projects, which everybody in this on this body voted for when you voted for the budget. You voted for capital projects, you voted for the ARPA projects. I'm just a bit bewildered on why we don't know what we had on those lists.
because you don't communicate, that's why.
Well,
You voted for it, you should know, you shouldn't need to
Okay, so
tell you.
communicate, tell us what's
Voted
going on,
for
tell
it.
us where the project is. I don't know why that's so hard. But obviously
Okay,
it
obviously,
is.
no one listened to me when I went through this list tonight, but the communication is there. And I'll be more than happy to frame this in a different way next month. I'd be more than happy to do that.
okay, thank you.
What I do is I start doing a PowerPoint, and we'll put it on the big screen.
Okay, that's a good way to do it. Commissioner Jones?
I think a lot of the frustration is we listen, and your reports are quite lengthy because we do have a lot of projects going on. It's hard to, I constantly don't know whether to interrupt you and ask a question or wait till you're done and have all the notes that I've scurried to take and try to hit them after the fact. Because sometimes you may have a 10-minute report, and it's hard to catch all those things. So seeing it in a chart, you can revisit a chart very easily, flipping or whatever. And so that's why I like the idea that if you got some pushback on some of the things that you think kind of go into the day-to-day more so than just a monthly report, then I think that's fair to talk about limiting some of these things. But I do like the idea of having the chart on there. I think it's helpful for everybody to keep up with. To the point I was trying to make earlier, I don't want to tell somebody something to do that's not within their job description is what I was trying to make. I want to vote on things that are in your job description that we're allowed to tell you to do. I'm questioning the law director. Is it an ask or is it a tell? At certain places I know we can ask you, but at certain places I know we can tell you. And that's just the duties of the different branches of government and to keep it fair. So I'm not trying to step on anything. I'm trying to do it the right way, but get us more information.
Right.
So I wanted that to be clear.
Well, and to answer one of your concerns, you can stop me during the report. If you say, hey, I got a question on this, I'm flexible. This is a pretty comprehensive report of where we are with all of the capital projects and all of the ARPA projects. Now, I'll be more than happy to put it into a PowerPoint, and I think a PowerPoint with pictures may help digest it better.
I'm open to anything. Commissioner Mansfield?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to clarify the role of the General Operations Committee. This committee shall be responsible for all non-school county properties, buildings, equipment, and services not otherwise specified as under the jurisdiction of other committees. The The General Operations Committee will concern itself with long and short-term range planning, space assignment and allocation within county buildings, maintenance, construction, and improvement of necessary facilities, and the study of the equipment needs of all county departments. Just wanted to clarify that, what your role is.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
And I don't want to nitpick
Go ahead.
I don't want to nitpick the day-to-day, to your point, Mr. Mayor. I want to keep it the month-to-month, just so we see the bigger lines on the Gantt chart, not daily things, to make it, that would just.
Let's look at the report next month and see if that's sufficient for you.
Yeah,
Just a suggestion, maybe Mr. Mayor would be agreeable to putting the report that he's got. I know he's got like a Word doc, maybe he would be willing to put that as part of our minutes.
yeah. As a person who's worked on the construction sites and then in management overseeing the construction site, there's different levels of knowledge, but the better we can be informed on what's happening, the better we can respond to requests, delays, and it's just, however we end up, this was, what I wrote out there was what I'm accustomed to in land development. If we don't end up there, I think that's fine, but as long as the objective of everybody at this table being informed, that's what the goal is.
So, to that point also, and to clarify a little bit of what Mr. Mayor was suggesting, having the project at the beginning with milestones along the way, and then seeing those milestones, if we're hitting them or if we're pushing them out. So having an ongoing chart that keeps us up to know if we're hitting those or not, or if the date keeps getting pushed. You can't see those in a written report, in a verbal report. Best industry practices, all big building type things on industrial scale do it this way, that I've been involved with. So I just think it'd be very helpful to have a plan, and then how far we're deviating off the plan month to month, not a change month to month and never having the overlay of the original plan. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and most of our projects, I think, are, well, I say that, maybe they're not all that much smaller, maybe we have a lot of big projects, but it'll allow us to track them. It's a good form of discipline and information for everybody involved. Mr. Sittler, you had a...
Yes, just to clean all this up, we're probably gonna need a motion to reconsider. It's gonna need to be entertained by somebody that was on the prevailing side and revote, and based on that vote, either continue on or move this to old business.
I'll make a motion to reconsider the vote.
And if I could say something, am I allowed to? Or, I mean,
Well,
Second.
let's get a second. Got a second?
here's my thing, this committee is made up of 7 members, the mayor, etc. And I'm not gonna, don't wanna sound rude, but I'm not gonna apologize if this gentleman over here raises a red flag or you raise a red flag of concern. I'm gonna speak out on it. I'm not gonna dictate to anybody how they do their job. I prefer to ask and work with them, and people can interpret that any way they want. But again, doesn't matter what side of the thinking you're on, whatever it is. If you raise a red flag, I want to hear it. And that to his point, when he brought up this, that's why I wanted to hear what you had to say. And I'm not going to apologize for that. I'm just not. I mean, you made some good points, and it had to be said.
No, I'm glad that everybody understands where I was going with that.
Okay, so I'm not clear on the motion.
The motion is just to reconsider the vote.
And so to adopt,
No, the motion was to reconsider the vote, then I have to make a motion
Oh,
to
okay,
adopt it again with the new understanding in hopes of getting a bigger
Okay.
consensus than we had
okay, I
last
got
time.
you.
Or just let it go to old business.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second from Commissioner Harrison. So All in favor to reconsider the vote signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
No. So it's 5-2. My vote was a no. Okay, so.
Now,
Yeah.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt this as you've written it. The mayor's gonna make a stab at making something like this in some form, and we'll see if it's good enough. So that's the motion I'd like to make, to adopt this.
Second.
So isn't that just leaving it on old business?
No,
Or is that-
No, we're
he's-
trying to adopt this,
Okay.
and if he satisfies the request to adopt it, we'll all be happy with it. If not, we'll say, yeah, but could you do this next time, and we'll tweak it a little bit, but he's gonna make a stab at it, so.
Okay, so we have a
Motion to
motion from
adopt it.
Commissioner Jones and a second from Commissioner Miller. Any discussion on that?
Yeah. What is the harm in moving it to old business and allowing, the mayor to come back with say a sample or an example of what he would like to present in the future, and then us discussing it next month and then adopting it? Is that the same as what you're?
I think that's the same. I think that's the same.
Either or,
I
this
think
is a
it's the same
guideline
thing.
for him to go
Yeah.
by,
Okay.
so.
That was kind of my
I'm
question, so I think that's.
Gotcha,
Okay with the
okay. Yeah,
guideline
'cause you
part.
brought up that.
So is that?
That's fine.
fair? Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
One dissented. Okay, motion passes. All right, we're getting down to the nitty-gritty here.
All right.
We have Sheriff's Department surplus property. I talked to Chief Craddock after the last meeting, and he spoke, this is almost all computer stuff. He spoke with Mr. Tuttle. Mr. Tuttle said he can't use it. If Mr. Tuttle can't use it, I don't think it makes a whole lot of sense to put it in the surplus. But I'm just giving you information that I got tonight. So we have a very lengthy list of police surplus stuff. I've been through it, and I have to tell you, I don't know what most of it is. And I did not take the time to look it up, but like I said, Mr. Tuttle did look at it and said he doesn't have a use for it in IT. So we can either vote on it or move it out to next month.
These are all computers and monitors and
Right.
cameras,
Yep.
keyboards. Video converter, video.
So can we just send it on?
Can we just put it on that list we just created?
We can do that. Like, that's why I said, and I have not spoken to Robert Tuttle about it, but I'm believing Eric Craddock when he said that Robert has no use for it, but we can have them put it on the list. And
So it goes on the list. I just want to clarify that procedure that we adopted. It goes on the list and everybody else gets dibs at it first within the county. And then at a certain point in time, did we dictate that it will come to this body for auction?
yeah, we did not give a specific timeline of it. I kind of wanted to see how that worked because
Who's managing the list?
it would be Robert Tuttle and us as a committee. We would ultimately be in charge of it. He's going to mechanically be the one who implements it, but.
So whereas this would have been just a vote to send to auction, right?
Right.
Tonight.
Right.
We're gonna vote to send it to the list and
And
then somebody's got to say it's been there long enough, send it
Right.
to auction.
Right. And that would ultimately be us. And we would make the recommendation to put it on Gov Deals.
Okay, well, I'm fine sending it on to that list.
Okay, is that a motion?
Sure.
Okay. Do we have a second on the motion?
Second.
Okay, second. Mr. Mayor.
Who keys all this into the system?
Robert.
IT's kinda short, so they'll do it.
That, he said he would, so.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes.
Is there an vote?
I think so.
It was unanimous. Okay. All right, new business. Removal of tree threatening historic Cottontown post office and how it related to the maintenance and costs of maintenance. In the packet, I included all correspondence which you'd already seen, and I was in error and the mayor was right. The way the resolution is written, we've kind of painted ourselves in a corner as a commission. We have that last line of the resolution, we said we won't spend any county monies. So the way I see it is if by, and Mr. Sittler, correct me if I'm wrong here, but everything needs to run through the county mayor legally for insurance practices and everything. Is that, because I thought of just going and cutting the tree down myself, and that could have gotten me in trouble probably, because I don't
Yes.
own the property, the county owns the property.
Technically, yes, if you'd like, I go through this resolution real quick, if that's
Sure,
all right.
Sure.
If you kind of work backwards from the last statement, this is about the repairs, upkeep, improvements, and security of the Draper House. And it restates repairs, upkeep, improvements, and security. So I understand the intent is to not throw more money at preservation of this building, but what we've got here is a unique situation in that we still own the property. So we've got a duty to mitigate loss, to keep whatever the property value is at the highest level possible, and also we run the risk of injury for anybody that could be on the property. So if this tree is in such a nature, I have not seen the tree, so I have nothing to speak on this tree, but if the tree is in such bad shape that it could damage the property, this property the county maintains the commission maintains on behalf of the residents of the county. So we've got a duty to try and keep that value as high as possible and not suffer any liability. So based on those two grounds, I think that kind of goes outside of the scope of this. And for an emergency purpose, if the tree is that bad, I'd say we would have an out to go out there and at least knock the tree down. We wouldn't want to get into any beautification project and replace the tree and do all this other stuff. We've already dictated how that's going to be handled, but I believe we set ourselves up for some liability if we don't address this tree.
So, do we make a motion to
Well,
do that, or do we have to revisit the resolution on that?
it feels to me like this is just the beginning of a quandary that we'll be in if we don't address the resolution. Because what we're saying is, we can't spend any money on it, on the property. And only money that's donated to the county can pay for anything done on it. And so if nobody comes up with any money, then the things are just gonna get destroyed and rot in place. And it seems to me that the easy fix is to go back through the resolution and get rid of that last sentence. I mean, I know the intent, and other properties in the county, for instance, Castalian Springs Bethpage, or the Castalian Springs Community Center is worked for years as a project that the county has given money to, in some cases given labor to, but the people who basically work out of it, and hold their meetings and stuff there. They've done a lot of the work too. I remember, talking to one of the gals that is part of that organization. And she says, yeah, we needed to paint something, and so Anthony Holt bought us the paint through the county, and then we provided the labor and painted the building. And so if we got rid of that last sentence, I think that would be a similar thing that we could do here, not being a legal mind like you. But I think that might solve some of the problems. Commissioner Jones?
Still thinking.
Oh, you're still thinking?
Yeah, not really.
I don't disagree with you. I'm trying to find you a carve out on this specific issue we have today.
Mhm.
I do agree that this needs to be addressed. This wasn't the original resolution. That was an amendment added on the floor.
Right.
So I'm really not sure how it got in there from the original, but
I went
having
back
said that, this does create issues in the future that we're gonna run
Yeah.
right into this again.
Because I can't expect a 501c3 in the community to, have absolutely no right to the property, but giving thousands and thousands of dollars to it necessarily, unless they wanted to. So I would understand, and I have not spoken to them about it in any depth at all. But, for them to say, no, we don't want to pay for the tree to get cut down, that's their prerogative, Commissioner Jones.
Who cuts the grass on that property?
I don't know.
County?
So then why
So
would the
wouldn't-
county
so
be
wouldn't-
responsible for the trees?
What's the difference?
I feel like
grounds-
that's kind of the
grounds
same.
maintenance.
Well, that's a good question, because that's not the way the resolution reads. So
It's grounds maintenance of the county
what
property.
I'm getting to is the bottom, the resolution is not, that last sentence is problematic.
What is the last sentence exactly?
It was requested from the floor that be it further resolved outside of this volunteer tax act, no additional county funds will be spent. And within the volunteer tax act, that's where I'm relying on repairs, upkeeps, improvement, and security to give us kind of some wiggle room. And if we are doing the maintenance, the lawn maintenance out there, that just gives us a little bit more wiggle room for this specific
Yeah,
instance.
I think
I'm
it's-
not saying it's not gonna be a problem later.
Well, I think we have to. I mean, that goes along with if somebody walks through that property and, tree falls on them, we're liable. And at a certain point, we're liable for that tree, whether it falls on the house or falls on the person that's walking through the property. We're cutting the grass, why not cut the tree? To me, it's a no-brainer. I don't know if
Is
we
the
make a
whole tree or
motion to
just a
do it.
branch?
Is just a branch, a limb on it, or is the whole tree just need to be
I have not seen it.
chopped down?
From what, and I'm not an arborist, but looking at the tree, it was dying. The whole thing was dying.
So drop the tree and let it sit there. I mean, how much time would that take to?
Well, but we're talking about a resolution, because this just puts a Band-Aid on the issue. The real issue is, are we as a county willing to spend money on our real estate there, regardless of what happens in the future? I mean, we wanted to save the post office and we wanted to save the Draper House because they're historic buildings. But now we're saying, well, we can't spend any county money on it.
With all due respect, I'd push back and say that is something we could look at later.
Mhm.
But right now, what came to us tonight is a tree that needs to be addressed. We're cutting the grass, cut the tree, because it could fall on somebody, we're liable, it's our property.
David, is this a utility pole in this picture I'm seeing? That's gonna lead into a question which is probably gonna go nowhere, but I'll try anyway.
Yeah, that's,
Recently, I know just from personal experience, throughout District 18 in some of the neighborhoods, Cumberland Electric was out there removing trees if they deemed it to be a danger, or an interference to utilities, et cetera. So I'm wondering, has anyone thought of maybe contacting, if this, I don't know who the utility would be on this, contacting them and saying, look, this looks like it could create a problem for future use of electricity? They may come out, and you may be surprised, they may say, yeah, we'll take it down, or we'll trim it, at least trim it to where it's not a danger.
I don't know that I don't think there's any power hooked up to that post
But
office or the Draper
but even
House.
so, if you were to call the utility company and say, we're planning on possibly turning on the utility, just to pose it to them that way to see, they may turn around and say, yeah, we'll take care of it. I know they've done it in Alexandria Place and a few other subdivisions throughout District 18.
Those are active accounts.
Yes, but again, it doesn't necessarily have to be active, is what I'm
Well,
saying, that they may turn around and say, if they restart this.
I can look at it, Don, and see.
I mean, instead of-
It's gotta be in the way of the wires, which is.
I mean,
It looks like
yeah,
the
but you'd be
wires are kinda
surprised, I was
hanging
kind of
down already.
surprised with the trees they were taking back.
Yeah.
Even some other people were that.
Commissioner Harrison?
Based on the board director's opinion, why don't we just go and cut the tree? We wouldn't even need a motion. If we're cutting the grass, just cut the tree.
I'll agree.
I agree.
Commissioner
That
Harrison.
work for you?
Yeah, I've got 3 bids. I can just call low bid tomorrow and have it done.
Great.
Is that a
Bingo.
decision we have to make, or
Fabulous, thank you.
Do we,
do we have to
Do
make
you
a
want to
motion for
vote
that?
to cover you?
I don't think so. I
Okay.
think we've got good video.
okay. So should we leave the resolution for another time should we leave that on old business?
Yeah.
Okay, let's leave the resolution on old business. And then, Mr. Mayor, thank you for taking down the tree.
Thank you.
Another hot topic, yeah.
There we go.
Okay, I will make a motion to discuss the repair and or replacement of
Second.
the audio-visual system. I have been going through some of the issues of the audio-visual system and I thought we had a part to the packet here. There is a system, gosh, I could have sworn it was in here. Our system has lots of problems, and in talking to Mr. Tuttle, that system may be not long for this world. They've done what they can with it. And there's a system called Open Meetings that I could have sworn was in this packet, but I'm not seeing it now. And it's used by Robertson County and Williamson County and several of the counties out there. And I don't have prices, but I could, with Mr. Tuttle's help, I could get a demonstration for our next meeting, if the committee was open to that. Yes, sir.
Is it something that would use at least partial of our existing equipment, or are we replacing everything?
We're not that far down the road yet. I know that there are iPads used in this, and we do have iPads for every member of the commission.
What bothers me is that the previous commission had just bought this
I know.
system, what, in 2019 or 20?
Yeah,
It-
18, I think.
But it was only a couple, 2 or 3 or 4 years old.
Right.
And never got it working right. We had them come back in and do a lot of work to it to get it up to where it's at, and now it seems to be failing and falling apart. Now, there was issues with an amp that I don't know if it ever came in yet. It's been on back order for 5 years.
They provided
They
a
gave us
substitute.
a substitute, but never got the real thing that we actually paid for. And I just feel like this company owes us a working system.
Well,
A sound technician and an IT person working together, I would think should get this able to be used. I don't understand what the problem is with gathering votes on that something system, telematics
Yeah,
system,
well,
whatever it's called.
it's a European system. The closest support is Canada. Apparently all of our videos are kept in Ireland. So,
Not my system.
I know it's not. If the committee is willing,
But how much did we spend on that system?
over $100,000.
That's what I thought. This would just be writing off something that.
Well,
I know we got a problem.
humor me here and allow me to get a demonstration of open meetings.
Of what it could be, Tim.
I want to see the cost before we do the.
Well, we'll get the cost when we do the demonstration, but at least we'll see what we've got now and what we'd be comparing it to.
Have we defined the problem yet? Because this is coming from our IT director that's saying this may be at
Well,
its.
the problem is we
End
can't
of
hear
usability.
because it feeds back if we get too loud.
I've never heard that yet. I've never heard it feed back.
Well, it did when you and I.
I understand that, but they did a lot of other things to it. I've
Yes.
never heard it cranked up with the way we have it now.
Right.
Every week, I want them to test those limits of that feedback, because I understand you can't hear back, hear everything that's being said. But I want an explanation from the IT director as to what the problem is, because defining the problem is the main part of the solution. It's not where our videos are kept or where the support system is. We don't need to know any of that if it works.
Right.
I want to know why it's not working.
Well, Mr. Mayor,
So, let's clarify something. This isn't part of the IT department. This is separate from IT. However, with the internet, with connection, they had a cyber attack. And in defending that cyber attack, some ports were closed. And this is way out of my wheelhouse. But when those ports closed, it shut down the live stream. Now, I would tell you, I was as upset as anybody because I wasn't able to attend the meeting.
That happened that night?
That happened it didn't happen that week. And once we identified that, reopened the ports, and now it works fine for the live streaming part. Your feedback issues and microphone issues, those are best solved if you speak directly into the microphone. That's what I've been told, and I think that's been conveyed. And then the projector issue, unfortunately, Carolyn was not notified of that there was a problem with projection. Otherwise, she would have had that fixed. So,
do we know what the voting, when we're pushing buttons and they're,
you have to wait until that blue light comes on. I think some people there's a little blue light that comes on that says, okay, it's time to vote. I think if everybody paused for just a second,
We usually do 4
and
seconds.
then you can vote.
It's not that, because I'll start pushing it when she says go, and I'm watching the timer, and then I watch my light go when it hits
But
4
I think
seconds.
once
it's a 4
if you
second.
do that initial one before the blue light, I think what she ought to do is pause, herself needs to pause for a minute and say vote, and then give that blue light an
Her blue light,
opportunity.
her blue light.
can I
Yeah.
get a motion to suspend the rules?
Motion.
Yeah, sure. Second.
All
So,
in favor,
but-
say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, Mr. Mansfield.
This problem did not exist really 2 years ago.
It didn't.
It did not.
With the voting.
The system was built, I think, 2017 is when it was purchased by 2 years ago. And it was over $100,000. The previous commission allocated $20,000 to county clerk's office to fix the problem. And my understanding was they just bought some TVs and those speakers that ended up exacerbating it and making it worse. And that happened around August of 2022. The problem, there is a significant problem with those voting when you're putting on that. That did not exist. It's just, it breaks every month and it's got to be fixed. The actual voting mechanism, I watched the blue light, I've tested it, I've talked to Carolyn extensively about this, and that is not 100% the issue, because even if you do wait for that blue light, it still doesn't work some half the time. So that is, the blue light's not an issue. The system is broken, whether it's they're whether a software update, hardware update, but it's broken on all of it, which means there is definitely a software issue, a hardware issue with the company. So something has gone wrong with the company where we purchased this system from or not. But this issue did not exist 2 years ago. Because for 4 years, I sat there and pushed my buttons fast as I could half the time. Nobody ever had a problem, ever, in the previous commission. This is new only to this commission as of August 2022. Just stating that as a fact. So I don't know if it's user error, hardware error, or software error, but it did not exist as of July 2022. We did not have any of these problems.
Which blue light are you talking about?
On the little thing on your desk, every time before when she puts it on there for us to vote, a blue light will flash. But it takes like 5 seconds or several seconds. And the majority of the time, you have to wait until that blue light starts flashing on your voting mechanism before you can hit your button, green, yellow, or red. But that didn't exist. That problem did not exist prior to August 22.
Well, prior to August 22, we had a different county clerk there also, and Mr. Mayor's saying that perhaps it's her function of when she pushes something to give us the okay to vote.
Could be, I don't know, there was also the TVs and the speakers also changed at that time as well. So some adjustment was made to the system and things got broken after that.
If that's a true statement though, I'm worth exploring that she look at that, because I want to try to make this system work, to not spend, I know it's gonna cost more than $100,000 to get a new system.
I have no idea.
If they cost that much in 2017, and then if you revisit the amp issue and get a real, just a regular sound technician in here, it sounds like 2 different problems with 2 different systems that are working together, but versus revisit a whole new system, I really don't want to do that.
I mean, you still have the option as a commissioner, is if you don't see your vote recorded, just speak up and say, look, I voted, instead of just letting it go and then looking
Yeah.
like, I don't know, 20-0, whatever, that looks like 4 people didn't vote. I mean,
Okay. Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, I just want to make sure, I'm not the expert on this.
No, but he knows
It
the
really,
right-
this is a discussion with Ms. Carolyn.
Did Bill Kim have a good handle on that machine?
Well, he did prior, but he doesn't anymore, he's retired.
Commissioner Harrison?
Yeah, well, one thing, we probably ought to go back in regular session first of all, right?
Yeah,
We
okay.
suspended the rule.
Yeah, we'll bring it back in
Okay,
session.
all right. 2 things. One, I mean, you can always go back to a roll call, because they did that for years and years and years if it's a problem. But if we're going to adjust the system, one thing that I would like to see is it go from 15 seconds to maybe 20 or 25. I think that if we had an issue with pushing the button,
5 more seconds.
there would, instead of being 4 or 5 seconds to everybody cast their vote,
10.
you would give 10 or 15 seconds. We could make that adjustment, I'm assuming, because I'm not an
I'm
expert,
sure
but
you're
I
right.
would think that there would be an adjustment inside that software.
Well, just a second, Mr. Sidler. And the other thing I want to say is that I know it's not IT's department, but they just did hire a guy that apparently knows a lot about these AV systems. We're about to find out, I think. I don't know when he's coming on, but I think it was fairly soon. So I will check with Mr. Tuttle and see how close we are to having, how much this guy knows about this system, about systems in general, and see if there's any help there. I will call the amplifier people, the same ones we spoke to a year and a half ago.
Follow up if
We
that
follow
thing
up.
ever came in.
Yeah.
So
So,
we're done with our patch, we want it. That's right.
Mr. Sidler.
Yes, sir. The county clerk, this is the one role that she has purview over because of
Right.
the requirement through the rules and procedures.
Right.
So the one thing I haven't heard is getting her in the loop to figure out what works for her as well, because there's a lot going on, and being responsible for minutes in a commission meeting, that video plays an important part of recreating some of that. And if
Yeah.
she's not happy,
Well,
kind of like a happy wife, happy life, you know?
if we were going to look at the other system, then I would have brought her in immediately. But I guess we're not there yet. The desire here is to make that thing work. So that's where we'll go. Yes, Mr. Jones?
Just for a point, public record, what Mr. Mayor said about the microphones, I believe those to be a design that you have to speak into the top of them, and a lot of people speak into the side of them because they stay seated, or when they stand up, they project over the top of the microphone. If you're not talking into the top of that microphone, it's not gonna pick you up very well. So I'll say that publicly to at least catch this many of us to start trying to do it the right way. And hopefully everybody else will watch the video.
Yeah, the other thing we did discover a year and a half ago, though, is if the boxes on the desks are set, the speakers set too loud, they will feed back into our microphones. And that was a problem. And, you know, we might want to turn those off, because I don't know that we're hearing all that well.
I depend on mine.
Oh, do you?
I have to. I
Okay.
cup a piece of paper over it so it projects it right, because I cannot hear the other side of the
Okay,
room.
all right.
I think those should be able to turn up, and I don't see that we have a control for them. Carolyn's control down by her knee goes to the back speakers and the top speakers
Yeah.
if they're functional.
It was in the back room that
But
you
it
could
doesn't
control that.
change those. I'd like to get that looked at, see if we can turn ours individually up, because everybody's got different hearing
Right.
parameters, and we should be able to individually adjust those. They got a little port inside. I thought about bringing a earphone to plug into it to see if I can
Okay.
hear better.
Well, I'll follow up with Mr. Tuttle and with the amplifier company that I guess still owes us an amplifier. I totally forgot about that.
I had a suggestion that we move the next set of meetings, whether it be budget or, next Mondays or whatever, into that room so that we could have a meeting while people are looking at the system and playing with it, because it seems like all the adjustments are always done, and then we go in there and test it live during a meeting, because you never know what it's gonna sound like with a room full of people.
Mhm.
And maybe we could do that. I don't know.
They have BZA and planning in there, so, I mean, there's meetings that go on,
Well, during one of those, maybe
Yeah.
somebody could be looking at it
Yeah.
while that's happening.
Yeah.
Use the system
Yeah.
and test it while they're working on
Our
it.
planning commission meetings are always in there, so.
I think BZA's the same.
Okay, so we'll put this on old business, just carry it forward, and then, I've already been over the county building list, and I will email some other stuff out that Commissioner Miller and I have come up with over the last year and a half. And then.
Drop or old,
I'm sorry?
drop or old business.
Old business. And then,
Can you roll that into the other one
Yeah.
that he's working on and put them together, or you want to keep them separate?
I want to keep it separate because the county buildings list is separate from the new construction stuff. And then the health department, Mr. Mayor, the floor is yours.
I'm gonna defer to Mr. Howell if you
Okay.
wouldn't mind suspending the
Good,
rules.
Motion to suspend the rules.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Just in case y'all have some questions from him, but everything that I said on the health department, really what I'm needing from this body today is to change the verbiage from renovate to demo and replace. That way we can stay within the guidelines of the grant. And just to reiterate, the state's gonna cover any overages on this without a match from the county. So we're not gonna incur any other expenses other than what we currently allocated. This will be a 4,000 square foot building versus a 6,000, or went from a 4,000 square foot to a 6,000 square foot.
I'll move to change the wording.
I'll second.
I thought we were going to hear from.
Are we
If we had
sitting here?
questions.
Well, do you have anything to add?
No,
I just wanna make sure the
Hey, it's all
experts.
going good, I better
We've got some questions.
We got a motion and a second?
We got a motion, a second, and so.
But we're out of session.
Well, this has.
But we're out of session, so let's wait
My
on the.
question, go ahead and vote on this because it would have nothing,
Well,
my question.
I'd rather, if it pleases everybody, I'd rather have Mr. Hendricks speak and we ask questions before we actually vote on the motion, so please. Yeah, I was pretty surprised when I got this information. Whose ultimate decision was it to demolish that building?
Structural engineer, electrical engineer, and the architect were all in a meeting in the building with Marshall, Kim Northley, myself, the state contractor or supervisor, and the regional director were all in a meeting last Wednesday. And as started the meeting off, it was remodeling, and they stopped and said, "What's our total amount?" And they did a little math. They said it's going to be cheaper to knock down and rebuild than remodel.
Literally cheaper.
Yes.
Where do they,
Per-
where are you
per
getting
square
into
foot.
them?
Per square footage.
I have a
Yeah.
question.
Not total bill, per square footage.
Yeah, square footage. So we're within the parameters of what we've got spent.
Commissioner Miller.
If they knock it down, where are they gonna operate in the meantime?
Intern.
I'm ready to go to Hendersonville Hospital to talk to them about space. What we can do at a minimum is our WIC and vital records, or birth and death certificates in Hendersonville. And I've also been told that there's a clinic space in the Dunn area, in the building with the county property,
Old library maybe?
No,
the
it's-
county,
Oh,
It's where the county clerk is.
county clerk, the old one-to-one
Get the tag
clinic. And I've just been told space. I have no idea what square footage, if that's even possible to come in there and use that. But, at a very minimum, what we'll do, or maximum, would be a WIC program and,
Are we gonna have to pay rent to have a space somewhere else?
I'm not gonna pay for rent. If it's given to me or donated, I'll be happy to accept, and we'll look at a contract or MOU, but I'm not gonna, I don't wanna spend that money. That's not, unless the state wants to throw it in on top of what we've got, I'm not gonna come to y'all for anybody.
We only have to have one facility in the entire county, and when we knock that one down, we'll still have two.
Yes.
So, do we even have to?
Well, right now, I don't sleep good at night. We are out of federal compliance under WIC, and what that means is, what scares me right now is postpartum mothers who have given birth within 5 days have to be seen within a WIC clinic once they call the health department. We're now at 11 days.
Are we the only WIC clinic in Hendersonville?
Well, my Hendersonville, Gallatin, and Portland clinic are all at 11 days out.
Well, how do they meet that standard with the requirement of the state only having one per county? How can anybody make that standard?
They've got enough square footage and staff there in those buildings to accommodate.
Do they have enough capacity to take on more employees to be able to do more work in those buildings?
Yes.
Can we throw some of your people into those other two buildings?
If I have the time to train them and get them up to speed, if they're there. Right now, all my people are, because of the snow and the week we're behind, we're so far behind trying to catch up, and we'll eventually catch up and all. But Hendersonville, with the sheer number of volume of WIC that we see down there, you know, when I get the new building, I'm getting a second nutritionist. And my nurse will be in there, so I have 3 staff instead of 1 current.
Well, that's a lot of information, but specifically, she's asking about place you could go, and then he's talking about the state requirements for how many a county has to have. Can you service more of those women, infant, and children programs in the other 2 facilities with some of the staff that you have to make a dent in how far you are behind?
Yes.
That would cover and satisfy the state and the need to put your employees somewhere and get some work done.
Right. We'll be able to do that temporarily.
Okay.
Say we knock Hendersonville down, they will transfer to Gallatin and Portland But if I can, at the very least, look at a little spot in Hendersonville for Wicked-Ball records.
To
For
split
just
some of it
convenience.
off.
Yeah, and that's convenience, just the number of funeral homes there in Hendersonville that drive all the way to Gallatin, every day to get pick up birth certificates or death tickets.
Have you been in discussions with, city staff, mayor, Larry, or alderman, anybody about spare buildings they may have?
Not yet, that's my next step is, as this comes along, my logistics and my whiteboard is getting filled up on
I would
what to
think
do.
it's mutually beneficial to their, citizens. I would think they hopefully could come up with a temporary place. And
But if push comes to shove, you're fine with Gallatin and Portland?
Yes,
You'll satisfy state requirements?
yes.
Okay.
And they'll have to know that we're temporarily down. There's 17 new health departments that are gonna be built in the coming year.
Okay, Mr. Chairman.
With this being a third larger building, are the footprint there on the school campus, will it be enlarged, the parking area, and, will you consume more property and use for the health department than you are now?
Yes. We're looking at, and I'm glad we were there Wednesday to look at the building with the architects and the contractor, or the state contractor, coming out towards Merrill Hyde, about 15 feet, and then just squaring the building off. Now, it's got a bump out up front, and it will just be a rectangle, after, according to the architects. And it will not, the playground is in the back, back there. We'll just square it up and go, about 10 to 15 feet toward Benny Bill's, towards Merrill Hyde, and square up the building there. So they did not see an issue with that.
Have you talked to school officials?
Not directly, but from what I understand, there's no future plans at this point for that.
Oh, yeah. I think they would very much like to regain that area. I wonder, if you are talking about a whole new building and a larger area, if it's even practical to think about moving it where you can even 10 or 15 years from now, even enlarge it more rather than being entrapped in that area. Because I know the footprint of that school, the kids there have very, very little space for playgrounds, the athletics. There was never a high school there, and it takes up a great deal of space. And the last green area that they have on campus is going to be consumed probably, or hopefully, with tennis courts. There'll be no more space on the ground other than that little tiny playground area right behind the health department. What I was wondering, I know no one wants you. I know that, but in downtown Hendersonville, which probably most of the people who use your facility are from Miss Bergdorf's area and mine and whoever's on the other side of the street there in the old part of Hendersonville. That's where you're going to get the major use of that facility. And then you look at what is there in downtown Hendersonville. You have many elderly facilities. You have the daycare facility for young kids there that is free and reduced. And the area I'm thinking about that I sure wish someone would at least think about, talk to someone about, somebody on this committee or whatever. If you look at Shibble Drive, not Shibble Drive, I'm sorry, Stadium Drive, there is a large block there that you could expand just about all you wanted in the future if the city would, work with us on gifting that property. It's where the old Hendersonville High School football stadium used to be. many
Old
years
Hawkins.
ago. Or the old
Hawkins.
Hawkins.
5
Which
years
used to
ago,
be.
there was a special needs grant for $500,000 that the state offered to the county to look for a new facility in Hendersonville. And we went to City of Hendersonville and Alderman and approached them on use of that property, because it's perfect, and I agree with you, Mitch, it's perfect.
It's,
They have future plans for that property,
Do you know what?
a soccer complex at the time.
Well, that's changed. They've tried to put that in a couple different places now.
Yeah.
It may be worth looking into, and I like your idea of thinking we could possibly write off some of the debt that they owe us and they could gift us that property.
it is central. It's central to the people who utilize the facility. It's not in a residential area, it's in downtown.
There's a low-income child care
Drive
place
backside.
right behind it
Yeah.
also that the same type of parents would probably find beneficial right next door, healthcare.
And they are not, when we gave that, sold that school, and said that we virtually gave it to the city of Hendersonville, you know, it was always, we're going to do various different projects with it, and it's still there.
And on the deed, I believe it does say from the county to the city, it has to be for public use. So they cannot sell it to McDonald's or Arby's or a developer. It has to be for public use only.
Well, that would be, for future and for expansion and plenty of parking and for central location.
Keep the other one running while the other one's
You
being
have
built.
also right there on the same property, a rather large senior citizens, center. Think about that. I don't know, maybe the chairman would, investigate with with you and the, city of Hendersonville, what the options might be to take that upper football field area and, utilize it.
And our only headache or nightmare right now is time constraints with this ARPA funds and getting things in place. And,
Well, all you have to do right now with the ARPA funds is designate it by the end of the year.
I'd be happy to go work with you on it, Hal. If you can arrange a meeting with whoever, I'd be happy to be there and meet you and see what we can work out.
We could go ahead and do the wording, thing tonight, because this will have nothing to do with where he is.
just
Well, but if we were to move to a different location, he could stay in that building until it was ready, and then we
Exactly.
wouldn't demolish it, because probably Merrill Hyde wants to keep it as a field house.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there would be no demolition, period. We would just be building a new building.
If I remember correctly, and I think I do, with that building, when the Board of Education gave it, to them, there was help in building it with, school, construction people, with maintenance, with anyway, and it's probably why it's falling down now, but, in any event, I think it was thrown together, that's what it cost.
Hey, like the-
$276,000
Yeah.
to rebuild the original facility.
Mr.
Parking lot
Mayor
and
looks
everything.
like he has a question. No. No, you don't? Okay. Well,
I do have concerns though, because the city of Hendersonville has no intention of giving up that property, because I've already talked to them.
I was gonna say, I had heard from someone, and I won't say who, but they, they had explored other areas within city limits, and they just did not have, space. The other concern is, and I talked to a lot of people, in and out of the district that really like the location for a lot of different reasons. One being the hospital right there. Gosh forbid you had an elderly person in there that really needed to just, time is of the essence with some of them. And a lot of them just want it to be, and I'll be totally transparent, they just like the location.
It's a
Where it
great
is, that's
location.
the majority, and yes, there are some people that come in from Rivergate because it was put to me, they want to go through certain procedures because they want to go where no one knows them. you know, for certain tests that they offer. That's, well, that makes sense, but.
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, also, we have to have the architectural renderings done and contracted by September for this project. We don't have till December, because the state has to report to the federal government, so they moved that date up to September. So we really are on a time crunch on this one.
Okay.
You know, I'm all for going to
Well-
talk to the city again, but I can tell you they have no intentions of giving it up.
I would still like to inquire, because this is a case where government is crunched by these various different deadlines, and we may be forced into a space and an area that we are forever forbidden to expand, because they're going to utilize all that space at the magnet school.
How much, projection in revenue would the extra third of the space give to the health department?
You know, I'll be able to get a second RD down there, a third exam room. I've been asking for years for a full-time nurse practitioner. The demand is there. The space has just not been there.
So the profitability is gonna go up.
Oh, yes, tremendous.
So your ability to pay Hendersonville taxes is gonna go up too. Hendersonville needs tax revenue right now.
Well, that's a good point.
Really bad.
I would like to invite you to this meeting.
Yes.
I think you would be a good one to have there as well.
It may not work out, but it would be worth
Well,
looking at the
They may say they have something else. They may say offer something else up.
We can change the word as the mayor's requesting in the event that it stays on the Merrill Hunt property. We can pursue this if we can get a meeting this week or next week. Let's do it.
Well, I would sure hope that it wouldn't encroach on any more school property there. These kids do not have, that's only 10 acres for an elementary school, a middle school, and a high school, with all the facilities that a high school needs. I would hope they wouldn't give up a square inch of it. Sorry, but that's what.
Okay, thank you, Hal.
So,
Okay, we're back in session. So, I would suggest that, because time is of essence, that we go ahead and approve, or change the wording on the, is that a resolution that we're talking about? Or what was the document?
It's just the ARPA document.
The ARPA document, from renovation to demolition. And that way, if we don't have to demolish, we won't, because the school will want it. And if we do have to demolish it, then we're ready to go in a timely manner.
will we have to rescind something though if we decide to go this other route? I thought we were gonna defer this to next month and see what you find out in a possible meeting.
If I may, it's demo and new construction's the wording I heard. If you're using demo and new construction, you do the new construction with no demo, I mean, it really doesn't matter. So you're covering your bases both ways here. I think you're fine.
Okay.
It doesn't make us have to demolish that building? It's an and/or?
That would depend on whatever arrangements worked out. I'm just saying you're changing the ARPA so that you have the opportunity to demolish and rebuild.
But we don't have to demolish. It's not and/or. It's still demolish and rebuild, and we don't have to demolish?
I have to see where you would be forced to do something you're not required to do to complete the project. And that's all you're
I guess
asking
it's
here.
just saying that we are going to demolish, but we're not. That's what I'm asking.
We don't know if we're gonna demolish. That's what I'm saying. So if the language is in there, it's a no harm, no foul.
Okay.
Because if we do have to demolish it to build at the magnet school, then the language is in there. If we find a new piece of property, there's nothing to demolish, but we can rebuild, it says so. then we just save the
We can take them
demolish
as
fees.
together or separate.
Yeah.
You're saying. Okay.
I mean, that'll satisfy your needs, right?
It'll be fine.
Okay.
Commissioner Miller?
If the building's in that bad a shape where it needs to be demolished, the schools may want it demolished anyways, we don't want
It
it.
wasn't that it was in bad shape, you said the reconstruction cost would be the same per square foot as the renovation cost. It wasn't that the building was dilapidated, it was that the cost per square foot would just be worth it. That's why I asked in the very beginning, we talking about total dollar amount, or we talking about cost per square foot of what you're wanting to do? And that's where that came from. I just don't know how much square
How
feet
much
needs to
tax
be
money is it
repaired.
gonna take? Let's just go down that route for a minute. If, say the director of school says, yeah, I wanna demolish this building, how much money is that gonna cost the taxpayers? I understand this is a grant right now, that, you know, we're not gonna be on the hook for anything. But at a later date, if he gets in there and, you know, let's just say we go down that,
Well,
I mean, then the question.
I've been assured this is not going to cost the county any money at all.
No, he's talking
No, I'm
about.
talking
if the
about
director of
if
schools
y'all
wants
go-
Future plans, we can't even go there yet.
No,
Yeah,
no,
that's-
That's
yeah,
over.
that's out of our
It'd be nice to look
jurisdiction.
ahead at that, but I think that's too far.
Yeah, but I mean, it's
unknown,
something to keep
Too
in-
big of an unknown.
But I am correct in that, Mr. Mayor, right? This would not cost the county any money. This is all gonna be handled.
Just the initial commitment that we made. Yeah, any overages due to the project will be covered by the state. They have extra money
Okay,
and have made that commitment.
okay, so this,
Did we apply for that, or they just offered it up? How'd that come about?
It was one of those rare opportunities with the ARPA funds, because typically the county pays for the health department. And this was due to the ARPA funds, they made this available to all the health departments across the state.
Through the state, is it through the state?
It's through the state.
Yeah.
So this is a new thing, just a new thing that came.
It's one-time ARPA money.
It's nice.
okay, so,
Do we have to vote on it, or just?
we do have to vote on it. Mr. Sittler, can you read the?
If I'm understanding correctly, it's simply a motion to amend the ARPA to state that it is for demolition and new construction.
Okay.
And if we get, unanimous,
And.
Waive
straight to
second
commission.
reading.
Waive second reading.
can we go straight to
unanimous vote.
commission with it, or straight to budget?
This have to go through
Straight
budget.
to budget.
Yeah.
So will somebody
I'll
make?
make the motion to
Motion.
accept that language.
Well, there was a motion.
We were out
We
of
already had
session.
Oh.
We were out of
No, I was just stating it.
Yeah, so do we have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Sex. Mr. Harrison, second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
I'm gonna abstain.
Abstain and opposed? Okay, so with an abstention, is that a unanimous or no?
Can't be.
Mhm.
No, so we
It's
have
gotta be, yeah, it's gonna be second reading.
second reading, okay. All right, we have one more motion.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you, everybody. I know it was a long one.
When it's not the abstention, it's gotta be unanimous. The waiver.
Okay.
No, I'm just saying, no. Making a question about that.
What is that? Lemon drops from the co-op, they're so delicious.
Places.
We saw it for a minute.